aligners to the point of making it in-house and finally doing it directly. So his keynote is going to be a video, so we're going to start playing it, and at the end of the video, he's going to be online to answer questions.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm here from Taiwan. It's my great pleasure to attend this special event, the great opening of LuxCreo Chicago office. In the following 20 minutes, I will share with you my opinion and clinical experience about clear treatment. Today I'm going to discuss 3 questions. First, why aligners? Second, why not aligners? Third, why urgent aligners? The first question, why aligners? We know there are different office groups, they have their own office, and frankly speaking, I'm not a nice person. Why? Because some patients, they have complicated situations, and for me, alignment is not a total solution. When we look at the efficacy and effectivity, we know from many studies with evidence-based result, we know aligners are effective in oral visualization, but they are poor performance in intrusion or rotation. For the case one, for the early, we see, look at the clean check. It's just a tipping movement, and we can move all the teeth simultaneously, and the result is quite good. It's an easy case, and I can do that. And case 2, this is oral visualization case, because her profile is good, so I choose an nutrition treatment, and we can move the fuse one by one, right, with them in this type of treatment. And the third case, 39 years old, like next. And one is the second molar, and next one is your molars. Next, I want to remove 3 molars, and I use the missing molar piece, invert the retraction, and for the 38, I want to upright and retract. So it's not a good candidate for treatment, but she insisted on treatment. And this is how I will offer that before and after. One panoramic x-ray is a treatment. And then look at the thermometer, I apply
I was going to say no.
I need to use the braces, dentists, and PAs to finish this case. So with 2 additional aligners and the total number of aligners is 137, and the human time is close to 5 years. And the fourth case, class 1, missing lower 2 central incisors. You may see the evidential ridge is quite yellow. But my current practice, I want to place the implant on the lateral position, because I want to move the lateral, I want to move the lateral to the anterior position, because I can, with the orthodontic movement, we can make the complete bridge orientation. So I use the aligners in upper arch, and this applies in the lower arch. And you may see about this one treatment, and the lateral incisor was moved to the central position, and with the kids going out, it's applying treatment, and later we say, look at the surgery, the canine, and made the overcorrection. So that is why I decided to shift to the aligner treatment, because for at this time, the aligner is easy for me. I can cleanse the position on the hardware and move the piece with aligner directly, and the manualization I can use the and to take care of the missing bodies and they hurt the aesthetic smile. So my answer to your question 1 is the braces and aligners, they can be vascular or helper for the child. And no matter what pure controls, the treatment goal should not be changed. And I again define treatment is practical and not a patient that they do this type of treatment. So when I use the treatment, I have to know what's the indication and what the indication is. Here are some keys to a successful alignment treatment. First, sophisticated treatment technique, patient requires regular monitoring and adjustment, and use of attachments and other tools, practice, activities, or standard. And we have to admit that we have a treatment cannot do well by itself sometimes. So we have to combine with other treatment together. The next one is about the quality of the practice. When we have a good friend and a good patient compliance, we have a skill. The last one is the most important focus on the children. The second question, why in-house alignments? Then compare with the outsourced and the in-house alignments. Some justify saying that outsourced alignment I just send the material as a model to the company, and we can send back the full package on the alignment. I just gave a reservation like this. But for me, sometimes it's difficult for me to decide the whole treatment plan in the beginning, and so demarcation. For example, this patient in the beginning, she sat down to the treatment while crawling, so I like 67 minus for her. And when in the middle of treatment, she did great. And want to ask for more retraction to improve her consistency for 2 days. So I have to redesign the press for retraction, and I designed 64 alignment for her. And so the first set of alignment, the rest of alignment, we have knowledges, uses. And of course, this is the before and after during the treatment of traction happens. And I have to use the button, rubber band, fix appliance to recover the negative rotating traction. So that's why I say I'm not a person. I don't do alignments too much, but I do a lot of alignment training. In alignment training, there are 2 concepts. One is talent and one is patient. Several things we can do to get the patient resist environment simultaneously. Talent and for the question is we can fix the ear problem, and after the reconstruction was solved, it is common activities, and we move to the treatment for further detailing finish. This high school boy and classroom and with 35 reasons. So my children is I want to choose the computer. And I will contract 36, 37, and 38. And look at the curve speed. I will fraction on curve. And the 45 that is the location, so I will do patient 45. And 45 is just a paper article. So what we need is mild occupation. So for the lower arms, they are more complicated and difficult for the alignment. So I chose this appliance. For the upper arch, in-house, I use in-house alignment. And that one, you can see in the lower arch, the reference. And the curve is alignment and rotation was corrected. And for the upper arch, the arch is widened, and now the patient can move to the maintenance phase where the rectangular and in the lower arch, what we do is to keep contraction of the lower molar. So the patient both in the upper arch, you can go to the rectangular variant, and in the lower arch, what we do is regular income, renew the torsion, or give some bending for the between molar. So for the patient and I, it's a comfortable experience during the treatment. So there are some advantage of in-house alignments because we can control progress on our own demand, and it's versatile. So it's easy to combine with the other appliance or treatment modalities. And so that's why it's called effective and eco-friendly. So through switching between different treatment modalities, we can provide the biggest benefits for our patient. That's why I prefer in-house alignment. The third question, why printing and why the printing alignments? Let me compare the Summer Form and the direct printing. This is the biggest reason I want to use the direct my assistant has done you do something for this because you produce so much less. In the past, I say, I'm sorry, I really need alignments. But now, with the regular alignments, technology and material, I'm happy I found a solution. And I can feel more comfortable in this trip. From the brochure of the LuxCreo, we can see there are maybe some comparison between the home and OB alignments. Let me summarize. The first one is eco-friendly, just like the previous photos I posed. And the second one is about the accuracy. We know from the thermal form, there will be a problem of the margin not so fit. The consistency of the thickness is not possible because with the pressure, the constant area must be thinner. So with the printing, we can overcome this problem. We can make sure that the thinning is consistent. And with the design of the software directly, so we can make sure the finish is better. And with the better accuracy, that means we can use fewer attachments. And the third advantage is about customization, because it's printing, and we can design our software directly, so we can design a margin, even digital, or super digital, or with a black margin or yellow margin, we can choose different thickness, and it's easy to design from CL. And the fourth reason, the most important that is the shape of the reform. With the recruitment, with the new material, the iron can revert its original shape and the strength after its innovation. So I think it's what is characteristic when I use this recruitment items. Now we have the LuxCreo behind us. I will give you 3 cases to prove why it's faster, smarter, and better. Case 1, using our first model. So this is a supervision of the upper first model. Trend is I want to ensure the upper first model. We know it is space. So in the model cell, I designed to move the second model slowly, then I move intrude the first model. So you can see from the huge movement at the beginning, I just move the 27, finish, then 26. Then we can move to the financial design. In this design, I can extend the margin. Then in the extended margin, I can design to balance on the shell because I want to take advantage of this special design to defer the intrusive force of the first order. And we can bring the alignment directly and gives our progress in 3 weeks to alignments. That means work time is 10 days for each one. The 27 is foundation finished, then we move to the third alignment, 6 weeks, first model intrusion. And for the next visit, I want to deliver more intrusion, so I cut the group features, then the model can deliver further intrusive force. So what I do is just one liner and rubber band, and with 6 weeks intrusion. In the past, the thickness relation, I need to use 3 screws, 2 on the upper side and 1 on the first side. Now I don't need to use the knee screw, and I can intrude the formula and deliver the intrusive force by network. So with 3 alignments in 3 months, we can finish this case. It's very fast. For the second case, I can go across one from ECTs, collapse posterior occlusion. On the third case, can be standard. 1 millisecond is a different trigger. And my friend is I want to place the dental implant in the arch, and for the upper arch, I will should be upper molar, and for the lower temporal line, I will protract the lower molar, and upper anterior retraction. Then focus on the right side, 1/6 intrusion, and 46 implant, upper anterior retraction, lower anterior recrowding, 48 protraction. So I don't dare to use alignments for this patient because it's so complicated. So I designed hybrid treatment for him. In the upper arch, you can fix up triangles, and the lower arch is a partial alignment because in the first molar and second molar, I gave him a segmented tibia mechanics, and I designed in school the implant for anchorage. So with this hybrid treatment and well-designed mechanics, the treatment process can become smoothly and efficiently. And with this 40 alignments, it's easy for us to design a customized module. So the portion either can cover the first model, but we can bypass the midfield on the upper side and full coverage in the info side. The third case is class 1, vertical decline. You can see it's a severe wall dentition, and there's a sufficient 1/5 in 2 weeks, and there's about 5 in the subset. So my treatment plan is I will increase the brain dimension with capacity overlay, and my treatment plan is I will regain the 1/5 space and correct the 1/7/5. After the composite build-up, it becomes an easy case. But I don't want to put on braces on this patient because of this going big body and so on and so forth. And I'm not sure, I'm not confident when I put on braces on the improved arm and the restoration. That means I might so it's a good candidate for treatment. And I used some form of alignment in the beginning, and 1/5 space again is finished. But when I want to move the root line, to move the 1/6 and 1/7, it's difficult because the alignment was correct in the pocket connector. We know when we use the alignment treatment, it's crucial for the alignment loss. We need the bone capacity. We need the alignment can cross the tubes with more contact. But with more contact, that means it's not easy to wear without the dog. That's why the alignment was correct in the pocket connection. What we need is the ability to movement of the 1/6 and 1/7 into the upper side. So when I use the 40 alignment design, I can increase the thickness on the bottom side to increase the thickness of the alignment on the connector area. For this patient, the connector is like the hinge of the spring, so it should be flexible, and at the same time it should be rigid enough. And maybe until we can design a diagram to reveal the forms of the test. So with 40 alignments, with DC material 0.7 millimeter in thickness, we can provide a special design like the shape pocket and then increase thickness of our surfaces and the diagram. And this is how the patient will have the alignments. I'll show you with this photo. I think it's interesting. The surrender and the genetics in 25 years after they redesigned after COVID, they do that selfie again in social media. They focus on how it is to restart a build up, how they have build up. But what I can is, hey, they are doing the same thing, but they use a different tool. Yes, we have a different tool. It's LuxCreo for the alignment, and it's faster, smarter, and better. Welcome to join us. It will be fun. Thank you.
hear me? Okay.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Kelvin. I think we were going to have open it up to Q&A. I'm going to ask him a question. But then if you saw this amazing effort around using 4D aligner for extraction cases, multiple teeth extraction situations, doing digital context, keeping the space, elastic forces between the teeth. So Dr. Kelvin, thank you very much for your talk. And what do you think LuxCreo or the industry should be doing around digital context? Right now, you are manually putting these in a CAD environment. What would you recommend for us to move this forward so that anyone can be doing extraction cases with ease? Can you hear me now? I got that. Can you hear me now? So before I ask the question again, Dr. Kelvin, thank you very much for your talk. I have a question for you around digital context. And I think it's amazing that you're doing cases with multiple extractions. And what would you recommend LuxCreo and the industry do to make these types of cases easy to implement?
Content design?
Yes.
I think maybe in America that you don't need to treat so many edentulous patients, but in Asia, in Taiwan, we do. So it's a difficulty for me in the past. But now I'm happy with the printing material and the technology, and now it becomes easier for me.
Thank you. And the nice thing about this collaboration, you can see that this is an opportunity for everyone. If you have ideas on how to improve the design process or address cases that maybe we're not considering, this is a perfect example where Dr. Kelvin wanted to treat these types of patients with 4D aligner, and he's done it manually creating these digital context, placing them, but we're actively, our software team is making this an automatic capability within Lux Design. So it just keeps building. As you have ideas, please share them with us and challenge us. And like Dr. Kelvin, and we really are very excited about expanding the application space for this. So Dr. Kelvin, thank you very much I know it's very late your time, but thank you very much for the talk and supporting us in this innovation. All right, so we're going to jump right into a panel talk. And so we need Dr. Bordas, Dr. Schuning, Neil. We're going to pull you all up here. We're going to turn the lights up here. And then this is slated for an hour. We're going to cut it to 30 minutes so that we can catch up on schedule. And what I'll do, so someone can turn the lights on back there, Julianne. And then what we'll do is, I'm the moderator for this experience. It's about, you can see single visit dentistry, but really what it is going to be storytelling. Okay? You're going to hear directly from practitioners their experience with 4D aligner, with LuxCreo, with treating their patients, with growing their business. They all have unique perspectives. And do we hand them the mics? Or how are we going to do that? Okay, and then maybe you go through and introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead.
Neil Warshawksy, I'm from Chicago.
Eric Schoening, also from downtown Chicago.
Anthony Bordas, Southern California.
Representing California. Michael Strohecker, California.
And Chicago.
And Chicago. Yes. All right. So, I know your stories already. I want everybody else to hear the stories because this is how you get to understand what it means to. I'm going to go around in circles here. Okay, what it means to take on new technology, figure it out a lot of times on the fly, right? And these, consider them all innovators, right? Because there's different levels of adoption. You have the early adopters, the innovators, and the early majority, and then it becomes everybody, right? So let's classify this panel as the innovators, okay? And early. And what's happened, and you're going to hear different things that maybe LuxCreo didn't deliver early on. So please tell unvarnished, and then how fast that we can react and deliver on what's needed. So I think maybe Dr. Bordas, who can start.
So I'm a general dentist, I'm not an orthodontist. My whole adventure with digital printing started in 1996 with surgical guides and stem plans and materialized. So I was always been a dental nerd with technology. Jumping up, Invisalign came out, and I think in 2005, I jumped right on the calls with them, became an elite provider in my area, and then came Smile Direct Club. You guys remember Smile Direct Club? They opened up a facility in the CVS pharmacy dentistry. I lost my elite status, patients would go directly to them. So I said, screw it, I need to find a way around this. I was a partner in a dental lab early in my career. I knew about outsourcing to China, so I figured out a way to outsource my lines to China. Fabricated them for $10 per unit. My problem was turnaround time, month and a half. About less than a year ago, doing some research, LuxCreo popped into my screen on a Google search. I don't know how, but you guys popped up.
I don't either.
And there it was. That was my game changer. Forget China. I think be directly with the big boys. I started right on doing this, and I've just exploded with this product. It's been a learning curve for me, but the company, since I started, their innovation is, like you said, super fast, and they're just going a mile a minute. So I've learned a lot, and I've streamlined things a lot, but it's just been a phenomenal game changer in my practice. I've done about 50 cases now. You think about it, if you just charge at the low end $3,000 per case, 50 cases, my return of investment's been, already, triple that. So that's my story with LuxCreo, and I'm super excited about it to this day. It's an incredible journey the last 6 months.
Thank you, Dr. Bordas.
I couldn't be more surprised to be here. I started to meet LuxCreo about a year and a half ago, last summer, maybe at a Glidewell event. So about 5 years ago, I invested in my first 3D scan of my iTero, and that's when everything changed for me. I've been a dentist for about 7 years, I think, at that time, taking impressions, kind of doing it the traditional way, the way that everybody learns. And it was my office manager who said, we're going to buy a scan. And I was like, hold on. I've taken thousands of impressions. I can take a great impression. We're going to change everything. And she said, yeah, you're doing it. And after that, it's like, well, what's the next thing? Because that made everything so easy. Our costs are coming down. Less impression material, less waste, things like that. So then it was on the milling. And that's why I met Glidewell. Because I went out and I kind of previewed the machines. And what I loved about Glidewell was how easy it is to design. Their software is so smooth. And so then I go out to Glidewell a couple times a year. It was last summer that I meet Michael, and I have no idea who this man is. And he's got all this energy, and he's got, liners in his pockets and everything. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is something. If you have a liner in your pocket,
I do always.
Yeah, you do.
Right now.
So I feel the polish, and I'm looking at it, and he's stretching them and bending them and talking about shape memory and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the next step. This is what's coming next. But I've looked at other products, I've looked at other software with some of the competitors, and it's too cumbersome. There's too much lab time. And my office is downtown Chicago. I've got a tiny footprint. I don't have room for any of that. I don't have a bathroom where I can have a lab assistant and other people, and we're understaffed, just like everybody. So I knew I was going to take this on myself, not an assistant doing this. And so when I saw the workflow, how simple it is, how little you really have to do, to, And it just became a no-brainer. So I did the math, and I'm thinking, gosh, okay, I'm paying Glidewell $100 a splint, maybe, and sometimes they're a little tight, sometimes they're a little big, sometimes they're just in the back. Patients come back and say, oh, I bought it, I didn't wear it, it's too tight. I was thinking, this isn't right. And then when I start to find out, well, you can design it yourself. You can make them tight, you can make them loose, you can make them thick. I didn't know you could ask for these parameters. So to be able to bring it in-house and say, I can control this, I can do this myself, has made such a shift for us, such a difference. I think the patients feel the excitement too. And my staff feels the excitement. Rarely do they ever ask, can I learn how to do that? And they've all kind of been like, ooh, can you show me how that software works? And part of the fun of it is in the last year, things have changed and changed again. And like you said, things are coming out almost too fast. I go in the first thing in the morning. I'm a morning person, so I like to get there 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and start designing and printing and doing all that. My staff comes in and they're like, what's different today? And it's been neat. Sometimes I'm in there and I'm designing stuff, and oh, there's a new button I can click on. Now I can add this to my screen. So it's really cool kind of being along the way. Now I've got some of the advanced software, so I see what's coming next. Things like that are really, really neat. So at this moment, I'm just waiting for really what is next, what can I preview next to my patients. I took my printer and I put it right out in the front, so everybody who walks in can see it. I'll even do kind of bogus prints during the day. I've printed I don't know how many prints for myself, just so that the right people see it when they walk in, because I know that there's people in the afternoon who might want to see a print. So I'll click print at lunchtime, and it's just hanging in there when they walk in. What is that? And it's the kind of thing that's building energy in our practice, which sometimes for patients is hard to do, because as somebody said before, nobody wants to buy a neck guard. But when they come in and they tell you about their neck guard that didn't fit, or they lost, or just something they didn't like about it, you say, well, what if I make you a super thin one that's nice and loose, that fits perfectly? They can get excited about it. And then when you have it for them the next morning, and they come back in and grab it on the way to work, wow, this is the best service I've ever gotten. And I'm thinking to myself, that took me 10 minutes. And $10 worth of resin. And they can it's a really cool service to provide to people. So far, that's my experience with LuxCreo. Everything with the printers and everything that's coming up soon, I can't wait to get this
Thank you. Aren't you supposed to be wearing a liner right now, Michael?
I got my aligners yesterday. Neil designed them for me, but I didn't trust myself.
He doesn't should be in his package. Yeah, see, welcome to my world. Right?
I deserve it.
Yeah, so I'm an early adopter. I don't think I'm an innovator. So we've had a scanner since 2011. So we scanned with powder. Actually, I had a scanner in 2005 with SureSpot. So we've digitally scanned for over 20 years. And if you ever want to know how to scan, learn to scan with powder, because it'll make anything you put in your hands easy. Okay, that's the truth. So, I've got this kind of a weird concept that I don't think people are the same, and I think everybody should have an individualized approach. So I have a really weird boutique practice with a very large footprint, but everything I do is custom made. My brackets are custom made, my aligners are custom made. What we learned is that not everybody can afford care, right? So, I think what this company stands for is bringing the ability to allow more people to receive care at an economic level. That's really one of the messages they're trying to put forward. And, you gotta learn to get comfortable with your discomfort, right? So I know what I think should be right, but I've officially been broken more than once now by my patients. And when the patient tells me, I just want one tooth fixed, then I'm like, well, if you have a class 2 fight, I've learned to understand that class 2 won't go in, right? But they're gonna have to get in my guard. If I have any message today, it should be you should make methods, okay? And so here's kind of my logic in terms of making people happy. I have people wearing clear aligners that have a half-life of 18 months for 7 years. And when they come in, and then anatomy is a tooth move, I'm like, the half-life on that was done 5.5 years ago. And they look at me like my head's on fire. And I'm like, but I can make you something that will last 5 to 10 years, which is the micro, right? And they're like, really? I'm like, really? So one of the things you'll see in my slides today is 1 bottle of DMG, right? If you use 1 bottle of DMG, you'll get about 80 night guards out of it, and you'll pay for the entire ecosystem 2 times.
And I did that in under 3 months. One bottle of D&G. That doesn't include any of the liners we've made, okay? So there's your answer as to why you should buy this, because it's not an aligner system. It's a piece of mechanical device that sits in your office, right? It answers the needs that a modern practice has. I think it builds the most beautiful models, okay? I love the fact when, in the previous lecture, he showed you a bag of garbage, right? He showed you all these models in a bag of garbage. Like, I can't tell you how strongly I feel about that. When you know that there's a very large aligner company producing 400,000 models a day just in their Mexico facility, where do you think those models go? Do you think they go in a shredder and they get chipped and they get organically recertified? No, they're going in some fish hatchery and they're making salmon that goes to a Costco that is not organic probably, right? You want to know? That's what they do. They put them at the bottom of fish hatcheries sometimes. So to me, there's a bigger picture here. This company is out of California, right? They believe in recycling. They believe in ecologically saying the right thing, right? You know, and like that's a weird thing that means a lot to me because I know that I'm part of the garbage problem, right? Now, fast forward to why I really use it. Why I really use it is same-day dentistry. You'll see a couple stories out of me today. I'm going to show you same-day dentistry. One was from yesterday, which was a pretty good story, and I have a little video to show you on that. But I think from my end, you know, the concept to survive in today's economic environment is under-promise and over-perform. That's exactly what this company is. These guys are the epitome of a high-performing company. You challenge them and they come up with a solution almost immediately. And it's the funniest thing ever. Like, I'm like, why did it take 2 days? You know, because you know, and it's just so fascinatingly fun to work with this company because everything is a question of time, not a question of if they're able to do it. Of course we can fix that. It's not if, it's of course we can fix it. How long? I don't know. You know, it's not on the roadmap this week. It might take 2 weeks. Really? You know, it's like, you know, I talked to another large company that I did a lot of development for. You know, the roadmap, idea is a great idea. Oh yeah, we're going to get to it. It takes 2 to 3 years to get on the roadmap. Their roadmap is like weeks, not years. It's crazy. So it takes this type of a logical mindset to disrupt the industry because we're all under the thumbprint of really the largest company kind of set the curve, right? You know, you don't think of it. Does anyone know how many clear aligner companies there are in the United States today? Somewhere between 80 and 100, right? You know, that number was real. The clear aligner industry is going to grow by a factor of 10 in the next 10 years, right? It was just over $1 billion in 2020. 2030, it's supposed to be around 30 billion. How do you go from 1 billion to 30 billion in a decade when it took that other large clear aligner company 20 years to get to the point where they were just cracking $1 billion? You know, it's crazy. So I hate to say it, but you know, if we're here to serve the public doesn't know how hard it is to move a tooth, right? They really don't care. All they say is like, I'm too old for braces, I want aligners. You know, and they all walk in thinking that aligners are easy. So, you know, so you got a couple challenges. One is it's compliance, right? The second is your movement being done in an efficient manner? The third is, does the material actually hold up? And then the fourth and the most logical question is what do you really have to do, right? What do I have to do versus what they're asking, right? And I gotta say, like, don't quote me on this, but I really believe that our job is to make people happy and safe. It doesn't mean that you have to be class 1 locked in inclusion, right? I'm not saying that I skirt that. I try to do the best job. But when patients don't care, they don't have a value in that, I've kind of learned that it's not right to force that on them because they have a bad experience and they're going to say something bad about you. You know, there's a reason why that large clear aligner company out there doesn't publish their numbers, right? They have the numbers. They know how many refinements are out there, right? The studies in American Journal of Orthodontics are pretty clear, right? You know, there's a pretty well-refereed journal article from 22 that talks about how it fails 52% of the time, takes 23 months to finish with 3 refinements, okay? It's not finishing more than less than 10% probably with the first round, you know, unless it's exceedingly simple, right? But the thing that my experience has been with their product simply is that the fit is better, okay? the fact is, you know, when you thermoform, right, because that's the technology that we're coming from, when you thermoform, that material is being stretched over a model. Where is it thinnest? At the tip of the tube, right? That's where it's the thinnest, right? So how does it suddenly get thinner and then thicker at the end? And you know, it's like, and then you can't really control in a large company like that produces, you know, hundreds of thousands of aligners a day, which is an unbelievable concept. You can't control the cut line, right? Cut line actually means a lot here. It means a lot, right? Everyone talks about, oh, you gotta have attachments. You don't really need attachments. You need a good finish line, right? You need a finish line that dictates what, you know, if you're trying to intrude teeth, you know, that's where the design comes in, right? So, you know, it's like, so listen, this is not a one-trick pony here, right? There's 3 pieces of software involved here, right? Most people don't get that, right? There's a piece of design software. There's a couple companies here represented in the crowd today. I'm a big fan of UBET. Charlotte's here. You can, you know, hey, Charlotte. I think I was doctor number 6. I still have doctor number 6. But you know, then there's Lux Design, right? Then you're going to take your STL model, you put it into a piece of software, and you turn it from a model into a shell, right? That's the magic, right? The 4D that Michael talked about, right? That's simply wow, right? Like if you don't understand that this is like magic happening in front of your eyes, open your eyes. This is a crazy little event today. I'm thinking like, I'm sitting in the middle of history today, legitimately. I think this is a historical event today. And then the third piece is just that piece that controls the printing, right? And what I learned, the first time I did a case, it had 15 trays on it. It took me 2 hours and 35 minutes to, not to design it, but to shell it, because I did them one by one and I labeled the trays. And I thought to myself, I am never, ever doing this again, right? And then suddenly, fast track came. I'm like, I'm back in, right? So, you know, all the answers are not here at the moment, right? But what's really fascinating is 3 different walks of life here, right? You know, and we're all using it in different ways, right? What's cool about it is, it's a piece of equipment that can work for whatever we need it to do. What's really cool about it, it's future-proof, right? It's going to continue to work for us as resins change and get better, right? You know, it's not the be-all and end-all, but it's about just doing a good job, right? And how you sell it to people and how you explain it to people and tell them what to expect. I always say, if a patient is well-educated, they're your friend, right? If a patient is not well-educated and they have a problem, you are making excuses why it didn't work, right? And then they lose what I call the blind faith, and once they lose faith in you, the relationship is over, right? So it's really about a good 5-minute conversation of what to expect with this stuff, right? And I think once you kind of have that groundwork labeled, they're very pleasantly surprised, right? And really the ridiculous thing here is that you can change the thickness of the tray. That is just, it's going to change the industry, right? It has to change the industry because it's too expensive to keep printing models and blowing plastic down. It's just too archaic, right? It's how it's working today because that's how it's working today. No one ever thought electric cars would be popular because they're too expensive to build. But look around Chicago, you see Teslas everywhere, right? A bunch of electric cars, not just Tesla. So I'm here to say, like, you know, it's like I invested in my practice, I invested in my patient's request, and again, I think when you learn to use this for what your unique situation requires, I think, again, what you'll end up doing is not only will you surpass what they think you're able to do, you're going to create new work, new buzz, right? This is how we grow in a tough environment, right? Like, I don't know if you know this, but in orthodontics, the first quarter this year, Gauge, which is the company that keeps all the metrics, orthodontics was down 26% in the first quarter of 2024. That's a horrible start to a year. When everybody has their insurance turned back on, they should be just starting up. Like January is supposed to be this banger month for us. We're just loading in cases because our insurance is back. And that didn't happen this year, right? So, you know, this allows us to do a lot of little cases, right? And, you know, the only thing you have to figure out is what's the right price point given your economic area that you practice. It doesn't have to be $1 million, right? You know, as they said, it's $10 a resin, $5, you know, liners cost about $5.
This is great. So that you have 3 very different approaches to market, and we'll go through one more round here. And I think each of you have one, as Neil, Eric, and Anthony, you're all saying you engage with the customer. You know, the platform, multi-thickness, the direct print right there and shown to the patient. You engage with the patient. It's not, to me, it sounds like in a different way. You're getting them involved. You're also differentiating your business in a different way. So maybe, Anthony, you can talk about you know, how you do that, how you approach the market in this new capability.
So, being in dentistry for so many years, our philosophy is affordable quality dental care. So, I don't go after the complex ortho cases. I work with really good orthodontists. But we have 3 full-time hygienists. Could you imagine how many ortho relapse cases come through my office on adults? That's where my focus is. So when the patient comes in, my hygienist talks to them about the hygiene, neutrality, and all these things, and how we have our own branded product. We branded our own system. So we have a separate website for our product, literature, everything's packaged with a trademark logo. It's called Dr. Direct Smile, my logo. So we package it and we sell it, I mean, super reasonable. It's under $3,000 a case. But in my practice, I mean, some orthodontists might think, you're crazy for being, so inexpensive. But if you figure, and this is in the low end, if we just sell 2 cases a week, that's 24 grand a month, pretty much, 20 grand a month, which in my practice is really easy to do. And I'm a solo practitioner, very focused on technology, which a lot of my colleagues, unfortunately, are the old drill and fill. They're scared of very little technology. So focusing on this part of my practice and limiting the cases to these relapse cases, I mean, it's super profitable. And I just tell other practitioners, I mean, if you do just 1 case a week, it's profitable. So we focus on that aspect. We really focus on our trademark product. We have literature in the office. Everybody in the staff has been excited about this product. So I launched my own brand product about 10 years ago. Okay. So we've had our own brand for a while. So we've been focused on this a lot. And I'm not an ortho, practice. I came from the implant phase. I did a fellowship in 1992 at the University of Pittsburgh. So my focus is on implants. I was the first practitioner in my area doing implants. I got involved with 3D printed surgical guys, and that's how my thought process went. But I jumped from implants to this because I've got billboards in my area advertising implants for $999. It's ridiculous. And in my opinion, an implant is surgical. I do a lot of implants, but I don't cut my costs on that. Whereas this product, I can really be profitable, no blood on my hands, no post-op complications, keep it simple. So that's where my focus has been, and it's exploding. And we just touched the surface in my practice with this. I haven't advertised it at all in my area. So, we've been experimenting for about 6 months to do these promotions in my area. Once we get the staff a little more trained and I get my hands off the system. Right now, I'm pretty much implementing like you're doing in the morning, going on the computer, getting the, I'm doing that right now. But I've got one girl in the office that's jumping on with me, and I'm hoping in about the next couple months, she's gonna take over the whole process. So that's where my focus has been with these relapse cases.
Thank you, Chris. It's fascinating to be able to do a $3,000 case. That's incredible, because Invisalign is $2,000. They just added more shipping, so they squeeze you as much as they can. And for those who don't know, I mean, what does Delta Dental cover for an orthodontic case? You're getting only $3,000.
Right.
So if you're trying to do Invisalign and be in network, which is what everybody wants, it would have made more sense to do a couple of deposits instead of seeing that patient for 3 years. Refinements and all that to squeeze less than $1,000 out of all that work. It just doesn't make sense, but this makes sense now. So for me, my average patient, because I'm downtown Chicago, my average patient is coming in at 25, 30, 35 years old, and everybody's coming in with these disgusting fixed ortho wires. And nobody has any, like, you ask these kids, you say, what was the exit plan? I put it up to them. I said, when did your orthodontist tell you that that was supposed to come off? And they just look at you with this point. After college. Like, oh, it was supposed to fall off, right? And how many people come in also asking, can you put it back on for me? And I just take a picture of all the gunk underneath it and say, you want that back? And then I show them this beautiful, clear, LuxCreo, and they look at that and say, no, I'd rather have that. And so in 10 minutes, I'll take off their fixed wires. I charge $150 to do that. That is a handpiece, some polisher. It's easy, and people love the first step. And then we charge $250 for a set of retainers, $125 a piece if they only want one. And again, that's staff time of 5 or 10 minutes. The resin is 60 cents a gram, I think. It's cheap, and you're putting 5 or 10 grams worth into each one. These are inexpensive. And then the patients are the next day to get it back, and they love them. And they're talking about it. We've got a lot of people come in because their office mate, the person who they sit next to at work, came in with this. They heard about it yesterday, they saw it today, they want to know about it too. So it's really been great. I mean, we paid off our machine probably in the first 6 months just from doing single sets of retainers. What I think is really special about it is when people come in, myself as a dentist too, I did this with Glidewell for years. I didn't know that you could ask for a loose night guard. I thought a night guard was a night guard was a night guard, a tough splint is a tough splint. And so people come in and they're like, oh, they're tight. So you sit there and you coordinate them, and you spend all this time, and you just rough it up, and it's terrible. But with fast design, which is through Glidewell, you upload your file, you tell it how thick you want it, you tell it how tight you want it, you click the button, and a minute later is your design. And they're almost always perfect. Sometimes there's a little projection or something on it to polish off, but they are perfect. And then you just go through the workflow, and then a couple hours later, it's all done and ready for you. And it's magic. It's magic right in front of you. I mean, I was a kid of the 90s, so I'm used to dial-up internet. I'm used to waiting for everything. And when I first started this process, maybe it felt like that for the first month, where I'm kind of doing my own margins and all that. And I'm like, this is great because it's new. But as Glidewell kept putting out updates, I'm like, well, I don't have to put my own margins anymore. And you get this down to such a fast process, it just became a no-brainer. So I've been showing all my friends who are dentists, and they're using competitors, and they're saying, you can polish this in 5 minutes? Because they're sitting there, their mouth supports, and cutting and cutting and cutting and making big messes and everything.
We can help them out.
I can tell them that. They should be here today. Maybe tomorrow. So for me, that's the difference, and that's the profitability side of it, is to be able to realize a service that maybe you couldn't do before, which is to have these conversations with young patients who want that wire off. And we're not even talking about moving teeth. I mean, this couldn't be a simpler thing that patients, if you've ever had your wire removed, it's a great day. And when you talk about, it's been 15 years I've had this thing on, it's such a great day for these people. And it's not covered by insurance, which I love that, because they pay you today for that. And it's such a simple service that now I don't need Glidewell for it. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Okay. What's your question? What was the question? It was, how do you involve the patient in the process, and how do you differentiate yourself in the market?
So, I mean, we have full-time, we build everything ourselves. So we have 3 different labs in our office. We have a digital lab, we have a dry lab, and we have a wet lab, right? And I have a full-time lab person. I have 4 people who know how to build beyond that. And, when I brain tear on her, I get, I'll text her in the middle of the night, like, oh man, Dropbox is full tomorrow morning. She comes in and she starts the printer, because I prep, so I'm a night owl, I don't like to sleep, I'm a little weird like that. So I'm prepping build plates, and I just send them via Dropbox. All she has to do literally is pull the file, put it on the printer, slice it, and go. So I'm okay, so I'm a little weird. I have another workflow in my basement, okay? So I have 2 types of workflows. I have flexible resin, and I have DNG, which is the hard clear resin. DNG prints in my office, flexible resin prints in my house. I'm sending night guards to my house to print. And when I get home, you laugh at me, okay? You laugh at me, go ahead, make fun of me. My son lives in White Plains, New York. He's in orthodontic school. His apartment's $3,000 a month. Someone's got to pay the rent, okay? Who's getting a night guard today, right? You know, you laugh. This is how I'm paying the rent, okay? I am not proud. I am one piece at a time. But we have a lot of bills, right? And this is just how we practice. It's not, there's nothing special about it. What's special about it is same-day dentistry is real for me. Like, I'm going to tell you a couple stories today. You're going to laugh how hard people sweat me in the last week. You're going to meet you're going to hear a great story today about someone who's getting married tomorrow, right? She was in my office yesterday with a problem, and we fixed it in 5 minutes, okay? Like, that just doesn't happen, okay? Because of Michael's toys that Raj and everyone's tuned up for me, I can do that now. Yeah, when people tell me like, oh, I bought my printer on Amazon, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, because this isn't about Amazon. This is about professional quality stuff. The one thing I want to comment is I love his retainers are really that's a brand building concept. He's ahead of himself. 10 years ago, he made a brand. He tagged his stuff with his own doctor. What's it called? Dr. what? Dr. Direct Smile, right? And actually, ULab, if you don't use ULab will print the envelopes for you. So it's amazing, right? So customized packaging is here. It's just part of the experience now. I gotta tell you, it's kind of funny. I buy 100 Mylar envelopes for like $8 off of Amazon. We have a Dymo printer that prints my logo and the patient's name, the stage number, the date to start it. The labels cost me about 5 cents. And I gotta tell you, when we do in-house stuff, it's fast, right? Do I want to spend an extra buck on the envelope? It would look great, but I gotta tell you, it's got my logo, it's got their name, it's got the dates. Unless you're completely an idiot, like it says the date to open the bag, right? Which, people are people. It's pretty much out there. But I'll tell you the trick here, and the most important thing about building in-house, right? Which is, it's live, right? So if it's a big case, if you have more than 10 trays, I'm using Dentistry, and I'm making them check in weekly. Because if your tray doesn't fit, don't move forward, right? It's just kind of common sense. Right? What's the number one problem with clear aligner therapy? People forget to do IPR. Okay? So if you forget to do your IPR, it's going to go off track at some point. Why make them wear 6 more trays when you can catch it, right? But realistically, I call it sprint building. I don't want to build more than 30 trays. I want to build like 6, 7, 8 trays. Let me wear your stuff. If I want to be a little more aggressive on my movement, you wear it for 2 weeks. If I know someone's kind of like a clean freak, I'm changing them weekly and I'm making them move smaller so they stay on track, right?
So to that point,
yeah,
because we haven't seen anything bad about us. You guys want to see something bad about us? Okay,
All right, I can do that.
They all can. This is the point. It's like we want everyone to know that we're in the trenches with you. We deliver.
It's a first generation resin. Okay.
I almost sent the printer back.
So I think this is going to be more appropriate. This is going to be more appropriate for everyone here.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
These are the stories that you're going to remember, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, it works. It's great. And the real multi thickness, it's accurate. Yeah. You probably hear our marketing on this. I want you to hear how we screwed up, or we didn't have, or we had gaps in the product, because there's always gaps, right? And then how do we fill them, and how do we do it together so that we make sure that you're successful. So hopefully there's a happy end to all these stories, but I don't know what they're going to say, but I'm going to let them go. So go ahead.
So I sort of jumped on this whole process without talking to anybody. Okay, so I went online, I learned it all on my own, doing these, and it was really smooth, and then one day, my aligners were coming out with holes in them. And I was talking to Alex for a few, and she goes, you need to recalibrate the printer. So I kept recalibrating it, and then we still couldn't figure it out. And I was like, I have these patients, and I committed to this incredible technology. And then I was like, Jesus, what the hell am I doing? So everybody got on the phone, 4 of you guys got on the phone with me at 7 in the morning. Because they were thinking, God, Dr. Morris is in his printer back. Yeah. So it was incredible. And I got on there, and we all figured out that I was putting the labels in the wrong spot. Okay, right on the edge, and I was making them too deep, so it's creating holes in the label. Okay, it was sort of my fault because I didn't have the proper, training on it. But now I saw Alex last night. She's got these modules that are incredible. So for the new guys, you don't have to go through this. You go through the modules, and it takes you step by step, which is pretty cool.
Can you see the scars and the bruises?
But I had a pretty scary moment there with the patient. But you guys really resolved the problem.
When you had problems, it got escalated. I heard all about it. So yeah, and you're happy now?
Oh,
No.
super happy. So, yeah.
So we should say that the customer support team is really phenomenal.
Yes, and raise your hand in customer support. We call it customer success.
They're back there solving
All right.
problems.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I'm here is because I'm a really happy Glidewell customer. When you've got Glidewell's middle, the fast middle, if you call with a design issue, any issue, it's not plugged in issue. Like they answer on the second ring, they know exactly what they're talking about. So I think I took their cloud and said, well, Michael's with them, so it's got to be good. Because they do a lot of research on who they partner with. And so it was just kind of obvious that things were going to go well here. I truly don't have a complaint. Your shipping is too much.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's been my biggest complaint. There we go. Get the shipping cost down. I think what I paid the first time.
Buy a lot and you buy.
Yeah, I think I paid like $60 for shipping a box. And I'm like, I'm in Chicago. But no, I really don't have any complaints. And I do want to say one thing before I hand the mic is I find it really interesting that all three of us have created our own brand without kind of talking about that. That's something that the 3D printer, is it not just, you can really do anything with it. That we're all like, let's create our own brand. I think that that's really neat because I went out and created my own stickers that I throw on the bag that are like sparkly, that say 3D printed at Dentist on the Park, powered by LuxCreo. It's like, that just seems obvious, and you just kind of open yourself up to doing things your way differently. I think that's something cool that LuxCreo should.
So that's great. Thank you.
Well, okay, so I would say the bashing is going to come in the stain. Okay, I'm gonna call out the elephant in the room. These things can look horrible if people don't clean them. So we give people a little bit of information. We have a QR code they can click on. They make a really nice cleaning kit. Sorry, they make a good cleaning kit. I'm now telling people to use retainer foam. If you don't know, look this stuff up. It's called retainer foam. Put the retainer foam in the trays, and they stay infinitely cleaner. It's just helpful, even if they don't take care of stuff. And you gotta be careful, because if you have a mix of direct printed and thermoformed in your office, what you don't want to do is tell a thermoformed individual to put their thermoformed aligner in boiling water, because that's when we kill our thermoformed aligners. So it gets a little muddled sometimes in the messaging. So I would like to see them create like a very pretty LuxCreo sign with a QR code. They can sit on a counter, please go click this. And it has everything. I'm sure it's made. I just want to see them 3D print one for me, so I can put it on the counter and say that sign's also 3D printed. But it's just something clever. Clever wins the award, right? And it's it's the little things here, right? It's not a question of if things can be done. It's just a question of where do people kind of lose their faith, right? When things look ugly, when things don't fit well, right? Those are really, or if things hurt, right? So those are the three things you just have to pay attention to. I've had zero problems really with fits since we've been dialing. Raj is ridiculous, so that's all I have to say about you.
Raise your hand, Raj. Ridiculous.
There you go. Andy's a patient, by the way, so you can ask him about how much food he's getting caught in his teeth, because he's sequentially dislodging as we speak. But flossing with jump rope. Yeah, I like it. So the mechanics work. So, but as a rule, I would say, where you're going to really don't tackle big cases, don't do extraction cases, knock all that out of your head. Don't be stupid here. If we're talking about clear aligner therapy, he said it first. Pick the relapse cases. Who wants to fix their teeth more than someone who's been in braces, right? And when they're aware that they can be fixed because no one mentioned it to them, they're like, really? It's like, yeah, really. You can wear these things and you won't even see them, right? That's it. I mean, that's all it takes. And by the way, they don't hurt, right? But you're going to hear about one of my cases I'm going to talk about today where suddenly headaches are gone, right? Kind of interesting, right? So we see a lot of stuff kind of, I'll say it's secondary effects of, I won't say bad dentistry, but inefficient dentistry, right? That causes other problems on people and they don't even recognize it sometimes. So being able to recognize that and improve that makes people lifetime believers and raving lunatic fans. Like, I'm all about creating the raving fans for my practice, right? And you know, it's funny, like my practice is called Getting Straight Orthodontics. It's not Dr. Neal's office, right? I don't want people to know me. I want people to know our brand, right? And that's how we rolled it out for 32 years. And from our end, you know, it's just about delivering good care that's predictable, that makes people happy, right? And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. So again, if I can give everyone a piece of advice, start simple, right? And if you really want to do this and sell it in your practice, you know, the obvious thing, treat yourself, right? Nothing is more damning than having it on your own teeth when you talk to someone and you pull it out and they're shocked, right? Or someone on your staff. It doesn't have to be you. But you know, until you've actually made yourself a night guard, made yourself an aligner, understand what it feels like, understand the difference between thermoforming versus direct printing, print yourself a 0.7, a 0.8, a 0.9, and a 1.0. You want to know the difference? Be the guinea pig, right? You start to do that and you get the whole concept, right? It's a game-changing deal here. And this thing isn't even on the track yet. You get that, right? This is going to grow to a monster, right? So truly, this technology is what it's going to be based on. But really, what we're going to be doing in 2 years, they haven't even known yet. That's kind of how I look at it.
The problem with speed is there's a lot to come, and we're launching some products tomorrow morning that you'll see here about. But thank you so much for your perspective, your support, your partnership. Really, it's tremendous, and I think use this as an example of how we go from maybe some pain in the solution to improvement into ecstatic branded solutions to the market. So Q&A? Okay.
Can I ask a question? I heard from a speaker not too long ago that out of the 12 people, for example, that walk into a dental office post-COVID, that about 5 of them require immediately to require splint, or because they don't have one? Is that a feasible?
Did you hear the question, everybody? No. Okay, so you're saying post-COVID, you said 5?
Post-COVID, 5 out of 12 patients that walk in every
5 out of 12 patients walking in are a candidate for splints. Right?
Is that fact?
I would say if night guards were free, almost everybody would have. Yeah, but they're not. Yeah. Delta Dental just paid for them and everybody would have it.
We look at 2 stats like that. Like everybody, I could be a splint, so Neil's treating me right now. And then also almost everyone's a relapse opportunity.
That could pay for your investment in LuxCreo right away.
Exactly. He's not a plant. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe a slide.
We're trying to catch up on time, so what will help is if we have like a red flag. Because I've been looking for a flag. I lost track of time. There we go. Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's give everybody, the doctors here, a round of applause.
Let's recognize our customer success team, right?
Yes.
There's going to be a plan in the afternoon, but
We don't have a stage, but this will be and I'll tell one thing about the organization of customer success is as powerful as any other org within our company. It's not an afterthought. It's a pillar of LuxCreo. So that we are in the trenches with you. So are we taking a break or what's our next thing? Neil's up? Okay. No break for you. We do have some margin in the schedule, so we can catch up. We'll be perpetually late each time. We have live stream, I don't know if you know, but we've got a lot of people live streaming in different parts of the world. And so those that are streaming in, sorry for the we're off schedule a little bit. We will try to get back on track.
I don't want a guy here like doesn't go every hour and a half, like for 24 hours. That's not. So this robot will let you pull 1,000 people at whatever, like 7 kilograms or whatever it is, right? And then it'll just leave the stuff, right? And then you basically and then basically but I could be wrong.
All right, here we go. I'm going to apologize now because I only have about 100 slides. Maybe the other microphone. Anyways, okay. So I'm going to approach this like you don't know anything. And thanks. I'm going to approach it like you don't know anything. I'll kind of give you my first time you've ever seen this concept, and then if I'm talking over stuff you know, just glaze your eyes out, don't pay attention to me, sorry. Okay, so anyways, my name is Neil, I'm an orthodontist, I practice here in Chicago, I talk fast. I graduated from the University of Illinois, where I now teach in the Craniofacial Center, run the orthodontics there, so I go to surgery about 48 weeks a year. So I've got a surgically driven practice that pretty much can do anything, and I do walk around a little bit, so I'm sorry about that. This is a picture over here of some of my staff members. These are three of my children. My son Noah's in orthodontic school. My daughter Megan's a lawyer. She lives 2 blocks that way. And my youngest son Nate's in IT. So finishing up his last year of school. But I like to ski. I like the barbecue. I'll talk barbecue all day long with you guys. Okay, I'm not a vegetarian. Sorry. And I do a lot of dentistry. So I have a main practice 4 miles north of here. I have a University of Chicago. I used to be the University of Chicago craniofacial guy, so I have practice in Hyde Park, 2 miles that way. I am the craniofacial guy at University of Illinois, which is 1 mile that way. We have an office about 22 miles that way, and then we have an office about 35 miles that way. So I have a circle that's a little over 100 miles. And so you'll appreciate that when I say I see about 1,500 new faces a year, so we have a constant flow of people, right? And our main office, that's Wrigley Field right there. Our main office is over there. One of the few joys of my life was actually being in attendance at the World Series, because I was a season ticket holder with a couple of my buddies. But it's a fun neighborhood. So today I want to talk about understanding digital disruption. That is the underlying theme that no one has said this morning. Other than I heard someone yesterday say they don't like that term. I want to talk a little bit about clear aligner workflow, because I think that's what a lot of people think about when they think of this printer. I want to show you some cases. I want to talk about benefits, and I just want to talk a little bit about steps. So our journey today is going to start with digital disruption. Yeah, it's, sorry, John. I know. It's on the wrong screen. Hold on. So we have a slideshow. I just got to see the flip the screen. It worked. It did. Okay. So today we're going to talk about digital disruption. I want to go to an emotional point in your world, and I know everybody in the world knows the Beatles. So, when I was a kid, the Red and the Blue albums. Who didn't own the Red and the Blue albums, right? Most people did, right? I did. And I wore them out. They were not red and blue like that, but you know what I'm talking about. Well, the Red and the Blue albums got surpassed one day by the 8-track tape. Yes, my dad had an 8-track player. I did not. The 8-track player also got surpassed by the cassette. Everybody remembers this poster. If you were a kid of the 70s, this poster was on your wall, right? Everybody loved this poster. It lived for like 20 years. But the truth of the matter was, this was the first time we could take our music with us, right? You couldn't take an album, you didn't take an 8-track, you could take a cassette. The Walkman was born, everyone's seen Guardians of the Galaxy, the little thing on his waist? I actually have that Walkman. That was my favorite toy in high school. I traded a bike for it. So, but compact disc came, knocked out the cassette, right? But like all good digital disruptions, something came that was better than the CD. Do you guys remember what it was? Because you all know this guy. His name is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the ultimate storyteller. He came, he lit the world on fire. 2003, he talked about the iPod. He pulls something out of his pockets, and what does he say? He says two things that gets to everybody. One is, emotionally, he says, you can have your entire catalog on something smaller than a deck of cards, right? Then he talked to the bean counters, and he talked about what the cost of an MP3 player was, and what the cost of a digital download was at the time, which was almost $5. And he said it was like 40 cents on the iPod. So he got to two different levels of people there. And this was one of the most successful talks ever, right? This talk is studied a lot. Everybody got iPods because it was really cool, right? And MP3 players came out. And guess what? Compact disc died because they killed it, right? But it's a little bit of a dog-eat-dog world, right? Because they don't even make the iPod anymore because digital downloads. And if you know what a Radio Shack was, right? This is an ad from 1987, right? Everything in this ad is free on a smartphone, right? It's just how digital disruptions work. The ultimate story, if you don't know this, is that Blockbuster had the ability to buy Netflix for $50 million and they passed. Because they didn't think that Netflix made any sense because they were mailing DVDs back and forth. But Netflix, on the other hand, was smart, and they figured out through digital downloads that they could start to survive in a different venue, per se, right? And then ultimately they created the streaming platform. So obviously Netflix is still around. Blockbusters, is an Airbnb now. There's one Blockbuster left in the state of Washington. You can Airbnb it, and they left all the movies in there for you to watch. Interesting. So, I think, if you don't understand this, that direct printed aligners are the next digital disruption, in my world at least. So this is the ecosystem, as we say. What makes this special, what made me jump on this, isn't that it's a resin, it's not that it's a printer, it's that everything was made to work together, right? So if you look at graphene, right? Graphene's got all kinds of problems, right? So you have to have a nitrogen-enriched environment in a cure box, right? This is shape memory resin, so the set point in graphene is around 60 degrees Celsius. Set point at this stuff is 100 degrees Celsius. It's higher, right? So you're going to learn a lot about what shape memory is, but I'm going to equate this. If you know what NiTi is, NiTi wires are these memory alloy wires that we all use to level align our cases. That's kind of what this resin is to plastic, right? If we go from soft wires to steel wires to finishing wires, because that's the way the world works in orthodontics, in the world of plastic, you should be able to go through the same concept because tooth movement is still the same. The tooth doesn't care what's on it, whether it's an aligner or a handle like a bracket. What it cares about, histologically speaking, is that the amount of force you're putting on the tooth is low enough so that you get normal bone apposition and resorption, not undermining resorption, which histologically hyalinizes the periodontal ligament and causes the tooth to move for the wrong reason. So you got to figure out, like, what are you trying to do? What's your goals, right? There's a lot of reasons why you can use this printer, but if you don't understand why you're buying it, don't buy it, okay? This isn't like, I'm going to buy something, I'm not going to use it, I'm going to stick it in the closet, right? You don't do that with a car. I mean, you can buy a car for the cost of this printer, right? This is not a $2,000 Amazon printer, right? There's a reason why you're making the investment, because you have to believe that your practice is worth it, right? In a traditional aligner workflow, there's a lot of work here. You got to capture the data, you got a treatment plan, you got to print the model, wash it, cure it, manually black out your undercuts, blow down a piece of plastic, depending on which plastic, that's a whole different show, right? Then you got to manually trim it, buff it, and then bag it and deliver it, right? That's a lot of work. In direct print, look how shorter it is. Treatment plan, print, deliver. There's really no polishing, right? Because they print polished. And if you do all this, you can make a lot of stuff pretty quickly. The build plate builds about 16 aligners for me when I put them on, okay? I think that's, if you're doing 2 weeks per tray, that's a lot of time. If you're doing 1 week per tray, that's 4 months. Well, it's 4 months for 1 arch, 2 months for 2 arches. That's enough to send somebody away, right? So, Bill, who I'm not sure if he's going to be here. He'll be tomorrow. He'll be here tomorrow. He'll talk about the cost of whether it's worth it or not to do this. But I'm going to cut to the chase in case you're not here tomorrow and show you what Bill found. Okay, so it was 3 guys. So it was Bill, Ruse, and Kermod. Their paper that they wrote a couple years ago shows roughly $15 to make a thermoformed aligner. Okay? Now, I don't care what brand plastic you use. I'm just going to chalk it up and say it's about $4 for a good sheet of plastic, $2 for a bad sheet of plastic. Okay? In the direct print world, meaning this system, it's a few dollars cheaper. Okay? What this doesn't show you is the amount of time difference. It doesn't show you the amount of garbage difference, right? So I'm telling you, at dollars, it's cheaper. So again, here's your workflow, right? Zendura FLX is arguably the best stuff you can use for this workflow, and it's about $4 a sheet, okay? Bay Materials, purchased by Straumann, who now owns Bay Materials, right? Bay Materials is now the plastic used for clear correct. So if you ever want to know how a big company takes a bad product and tries to make it better, they buy the source, and then they raise the price so that other companies buy their plastic and they make money selling plastic. Did they improve their product? They did not. Okay, I think one of the key things, I said this early on, one of the key things for me, I really believe that it's our duty to make sure that we produce the least amount of garbage possible, right? And I gotta tell you, we create a lot of garbage thermoforming.
The models go into the trash, right? The excess plastic goes in the trash. You know, the polishing brushes go in the trash, right? And we go through a lot of polishing brushes. So I want to bend the rules a little bit, right? I want to figure out a way to get my job done, do it faster, do it cheaper, surprise the patient, and really get them on board, right? So I want to know, can I do this workflow in under 2 hours? Because if I can, and I can, if I can get this done, and this was, you know, again, another concept by Ruse and Bill, then I can get it back to the patient much faster. We're not talking weeks, we're talking a couple days maybe, or same day as the case may be that I may show you. So the direct print workflow is a whole process, right? But what's interesting about it is the process goes pretty fast, right? And like some things are tweaked a little differently. Like when you tear the struts off the aligners are polished, okay? So you're not touching the aligner, but you do have to touch the edge of the aligner, right? So, you know, we're used to using these fuzzy brushes that are about $1 a piece from 3M, these Scotch-Brite brushes that polish the edges on aligners normally. I gotta tell you, in direct printed material, you can actually use a stone or an acrylic burr. It'll actually polish just as well, doesn't create half the garbage, right? Much cleaner, much faster. That took me a little while to believe. But what's important here is you knocked out all the modeling, right? You're not making a model. You're not using model resin at all, right? So how long does it take to print models? At least an hour, right? Maybe an hour and a half. How long does it take you to prep the stage, put them in a file folder somewhere, set it up to build? It takes time. So now we're talking like, okay, now this is making sense, right? It's faster, right? If you haven't seen how shape memory works, you drop your beat up liner in hot water. Sorry. It should. Okay, this is so. Yeah. There you go. This is shape memory resin, right? It gets warmed up, it resumes its shape. So, have you ever worn a pair of jeans for 3 days in a row? Don't tell me you haven't, you all lie. And you know they're a little stretchy on the last day, right? So just in case you ate a little too much the night before, they still fit well, right? Okay. Shape memory resin, we love it. So here's the truth about it is, this thing holds its shape really well over time. Really well over time. So whether you boil it daily or every other day, it's going to continue to work, right? And the cost to replace it is really quite simple. I mean, it's a few cents, really, right? And it's a file, right? So since we've been printing since 2016, we save your retainer model, and we have a library storage system in our office. And we store tens of thousands of models. And when people call me, they say, I need a retainer, we literally say, where do you want us to mail it? We pull out your model, we thermoform it down, and we send it to them. This is infinitely easier though, because this is a digital file. It takes a lot less space. We already have the server on site, so we're storing these models. So this is what's different now. DCA, direct clear aligners, allows you to act immediately, right? Have you ever seen someone, you get them going like, hey, I can fix your teeth, this will be great, we can really do this, you'll look fantastic. Oh, I'm so excited, I really want to get going. Like, okay, hurry up and wait, because it's going to take 4 weeks for me to get this back from the lab, right? But what if I said, I can scan you today, and I'll have it ready this afternoon? You just blew their mind, right? It's a different world. So now we engage them. We design it. We can print the first couple trays, and we can send the rest of the case out to print. ULab will do that for me, right? They have a production facility in Memphis. My lab can be the production facility, right? I don't have to print 12 trays. I can print 2 or 3. But I put it in their hand, and if they're going out of town or if they were really engaged and happy to go, I turned them over. You know what I'm saying? I engaged them, I got them excited, and I sold them. I hate to say this. It is true. We're in sales, right? Some of us are good at it, and some of us suck at it. But this does the work for you because there's nothing for you to do. They just, you know, and it's this one-click workflow that changed it for me. Because I told you, my first case took me almost 2.5 hours to show like 15 trays. I'm like, I'm out. I can't do this, right? And granted, I'll get faster at it, and I was learning how to put the patient's initials on the tray and the number on the tray, and I was getting good at it. But then one click came, and I'm like, oh, Raj, this is good. Except, how do I number? So Raj never even taught me how to number. He taught Lottie, my lab assistant, how to number them in LuxCreo. So I just get the shells going. I put them in Dropbox. She takes them. She puts them in LuxCreo. She numbers them, and it's not my problem after that. I just hope she knows how to number them in the right order. So this is kind of the condensed, super fast video of how it happens. You know, you take them off the bill plate, you put them in the ultrasonic alcohol wash. They go into a curing oven and then an infrared oven to lock in their final properties. It's fast. We do same-day delivery now. I'm not saying I do it on everybody. Well, what I do is I can get 1 to 2 or 3 trays to them pretty quickly, so there's no long pauses and waiting for a month. I make a lot of people wait a month. I'm not saying I don't do that. But when I'm in-house, I'm just making this whole process go much faster now, right? And the money, it speaks for itself. Okay, so this is like really simple math, right? If it's 8 trays, okay, and let's say you're using a software where you have to pay a fee, like Titan is a software fee, I think it's $45. And the trays are $5, so you have about $170 to build a case, right? If you charge the patient $2,000 for 1 arch to build a case, right? That's a pretty good savings, right? But this is a crazy amount of money here, right? Right here. These are crazy numbers, right? These are crazy numbers. In an orthodontic practice, for me to find 1 relapse case a day isn't even a challenge. The challenge would be to tell me to find 4 a day. I can find 2 to 3 on any given day without me even trying, and people are begging me to fix it, right? I used to make a mistake. I used to charge by the tray. Like, okay, 1 tray used to be $165. Then it went to $250. Then it was $310. Then I'm like, this is just stupid. I'm seeing a patient doing Essex retainers back in the day, right? We would see 1, maybe 2 Essex trays, and then we would just take the pliers and activate them, and we'd see them for a year. I'd get $600, and I would see them 6 times. I'm like, I am the biggest idiot in the room, right? Because that's not how it should be. We should be making this way, right? It's a flat fee. $2,000, $2,400, $3,000. Pick your number based on your environment. If you feel sad for someone, drop your fee, you can. If someone's I'll say a prick, raise your fee. Right? You think I'm kidding, I'm not. Because if they make me that annoyed and I have to put up with them for 3 or 4 times, they'll pay for my time. I think it's fair, right? Because, you know, as they say, you spend 20% of your time on 80% of your cases. You spend 80% of your time on the other 20%, which just isn't fair. Okay, so first person up is Lisa. Lisa's got a pesky lateral incisor right here. And she's just got some minor relapse. She's class 1, normal curve of speed. She's previously been treated with aligners, okay? And she relapsed because she stopped wearing them. That's a Sept. That's a pan. She's pretty clean, okay? So I put her in ULab. I designed her case. This is how she starts, okay? Here she is at stage 3. She's tracking, okay? That's all I want to prove to you. It actually follows, okay? Teeth moved, the design moved. That's what it's supposed to do. I don't know what's going to happen at the end, you know? And I fully expect that most of the times I got to make 1 or 2 final trays. I don't think it's normal, if you'd ask, I know a lot about clear aligner therapy. I don't think it's normal to use the same piece of plastic from the beginning to the end. I think you should be able to use 2 types of plastic. Oh, but if you can make the tray thicker, right? You could start one thickness and you can go multivariable as the tooth starts to turn, specifically on the tooth that needs the rotation. This is where the world gets interesting, right? So here she is at stage 7, right? Improving, getting better. Cosmetically looking better, right? She fell off for a little while. She's kind of back on the wagon again. This photo was taken Monday, okay? So that's a fresh photo. One of the real things about me is I show you stuff that happened this week, which is hard for me to prep my lectures sometimes, but I like to show people the real world, not what's in the can. Tooth is improving, okay? And she's not wearing these all the time. So I'm like, hey, Lisa, the only thing I'm going to tell you, 2 things. 1, make sure you boil the aligner. Why? It reactivates the aligner. It comes back to its original shape. Second thing I'm going to tell her, don't move to the next tray unless this tray fits well. I don't care how long you wear it, because if you're not wearing it 20 hours a day, you're just wasting your own time. It's improving, right? It's improving. She believes in it. She's holding the blame on herself now. And there's nothing to blame, it's a process. Second case is a surgical case. This is Sandy. So Sandy wants to fix her bite, and guess what? She doesn't want to use braces because she's too old. I'm like, okay, Sandy, I can fix your bite. It's possible. So there's her underbite. There's her Panorex. We're going to get the wisdom teeth out. This is her ready for surgery. And this is a commercial clear aligner system called OrthoFX. She's wearing a product called Nighttime. Why is she wearing Nighttime? Because as the name implies, it doesn't have to be worn full time. It's the only product in the United States that's been certified by the FDA not to be required 22 hours a day. I don't care about that. All I care about is to get your teeth ready so they'll fit. So, post-surgery, she's okay. I have a little bit of detailing, okay? But I don't have any aligners, and it's going to take me a month to get stuff from OrthoFX. So what's my choice? She shows up. She needs aligners. And I'm like, well, I have to do something. You can see from her previous orthodontics all the decalcifications on her teeth, right? And she's a software programmer, and I'll just say she's not great at showing up. So I say to Sandy, I'm like, you must come in for me to see you. So she shows up, we scanned her, and we built 4D aligners for her. This is her at stage number 2, okay? Here it is on the teeth. Here's the teeth without the aligner. So you can just see that everything fits well, okay? She's tracking great. She might need to redo the crown on the left. Midlines are on. She's feeling good. Okay? I'm okay with that. This guy, that guy, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Class 2, Div 1, sub left, I can make fun of him, he's a friend. So actually, a very hard case, right? He's a true subdivision. So in the clear aligner world, I like something called sequential distalization, which is not an easy thing to do, but it's a process where the teeth move very slowly and you back it up with some elastics. So, this is Raj when he started. Healthy, right? Here's our stage 6 design. I just randomly pulled wherever I had photos of them, right? The blue represents where I'm going to have a button. This represents the fact that we're going to put some type of a class 2 on him to kind of pull him, as he's retracting. Here's the real dental issue, that's what he really looks like, okay? And he's matching, okay? Now, I will say, and I'm going to throw him under the bus a little bit, that he was not a perfect patient. Big shock, right? Because he's an adult, he's got a kid, he's got a wife, he's got a life. He likes to go out on Friday nights, and he's a foodie, and he has a lot of hobbies. So, what's interesting is, as he was starting to not fit, where were you around stage what? Like 10, 14 maybe? So again, I believe in sprint building when I'm building in-house. I don't want you to go too far off the main road here. Like if you're starting not to fit, we just rescan and build forward. So we don't build the whole case. By the way, there's 32 stages in this design. So I'm building maybe 12 to 15 at a shot. I'm not building all 32. So, but what you can absolutely see, without question, is that gap through my CT. And if you ask him, he will tell you he's got lots of gaps in his teeth right now because he's pushing backwards nicely because the mechanics are actually being quite effective and actually the trays are fitting very well today. So if you're asking me, does this work? The answer is yes. Do you see a lot of attachment on his teeth? The answer is no, not really. He's got some attachments, but not a lot. Okay? On the sequential distalization side, there are some attachments because that's what's really required. Okay, this is Lori. Here's another case. But I want you to hear from Lori specifically about her story. You know, the fun part about this is I don't tell LuxCreo what I'm going to do. I just show stuff. So this is fun for them to watch for the first time. Oh, hold on, wait a second. Sorry, hold on here. Looking at me, actually. So just pretend like you and I are talking, because this is the best way for us to do it. Yeah, exactly. So I think this is an interesting thing because we are on tray number 5 right now, right? And you are a previous patient of a large provider of clear aligners in the United States, right?
Yes.
Would you say that the result of what you achieved with that provider was adequate to what you thought you would expect? Were you happy with that result? Did you have any issues with that result?
When I had done previous aligners, I felt that it was incomplete and it hadn't corrected completely what I needed to be done.
Okay.
I had braces when I was a teenager.
Okay.
Back then, when they did patients with
Like buck teeth,
yeah. They retracted with a headgear, which left me with a very closed bite.
Yeah.
And I've had constant migraines on and off for years.
Okay.
Pay attention to that.
Now that I'm doing these aligners.
Yeah, the direct printed aligners. Yeah.
I'm noticing that my migraines are pretty much non-existent.
That's amazing. That's probably the worth of the cost of admission right there, right?
I wake up in the morning and I'm no longer in pain.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's really great.
Okay, that's really good. And you know, have you noticed that your overbugs since then? Daily routine of like putting them in like some hot water to refresh the trays. Is that annoying to you? Do you mind doing that at all? Is it a hard thing to do?
No, you know, I have a thing in my kitchen that gives me automatic hot water in
Great.
it. So it takes literally 2 seconds. I put the cleaner tablets in and that's it.
Okay. And I guess, so really just the 2 big questions I would ask for you is, so one is, does anyone even know you're doing this?
Well, that's funny you should ask because I just came back from a 2-week vacation with my entire family and nobody knew that I was even doing any kind of aligners because I took one out to eat a meal. And what is that? So nobody even knew I was doing it.
And would you say we have a lot of attachments on your teeth? Not that many attachments on your teeth?
No.
Less than the other company that treated you? Less. And are you having any problems with these trays fitting at all? They're pretty snug.
Right.
Okay.
Snap in very easily.
Okay. So at the end of the day, you know, really, would you recommend this to somebody over a large name system that is very well known?
I've been very happy with my experience with this whole.
And can you tell me what you do for a living?
I'm a retired dentist.
Right, which is just the whole irony of this all that we wait, of course, till you retire in order to fix your bike because now you have a little bit of time. So, okay, I appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so now this is Lori. Remember, she actually is a dentist. The person she sold her practice to treated her with. I'll let you put the name in.
This was, she's at stage 5 here, okay? You can see, like, I'm gonna take her to, I'm gonna try and open her up as much as I can. We'll see if it actually happens. But, what I want you to see, can you see this? This is called ledging. Ledging is when someone takes a diamond disc and they incompletely cut the contact of a tooth and they chop a ledge onto the side of her canine because they don't know how to do eye work. I haven't quite told her about this yet. This is Tia. Okay? Cute kid, right? Class 1, she's got a lot of crowding, a little bit of a Division 2 look, right? Deep overbite, moderately increased overbite. She's crowded, okay? Garden variety case. So I treated it with a clear aligner system 4 years ago. This is her 4 years ago. So guess what happens? August 27th of this year, she shows up after 4 years. Right? I haven't seen her for 4 years. This is what my attachments look like. This one's broken. You know, there's still some attachments on her teeth. Her teeth are dirty. Dr. Neal, I'm sorry. COVID, it was crazy. I'm in college now. You know, I really want to fix my teeth. I'm like, okay, it's not a problem. She's like, well, I gotta come clean. I'm like, oh, no. You gotta come clean. Why? She's like, I really want to fix my teeth. I'm like, okay, I promise. I said, I'll help you. I don't care. She's like, yeah, but I'm leaving for school tomorrow. I'm like, okay, well, you know, maybe you can come back, you know, pick stuff up in a little bit. She's like, yeah, that's a bit of a problem. I'm like, why? She's like, I'm going to school in France. So, here you go. Same day, right? 8 upper and 8 lower stages, kind of aggressively designed. I'm going to wear each one for 2 weeks each, buy myself some time. Next time I see her will be Christmas break. She'll be done with France. Had them delivered by 7:30 in the morning the next day. I saw her at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So from 4 p.m. to 7 a.m., we built and delivered. So you think like, does this happen? This just comes in the office on an average day. This one, not only do I treat her, but I treat like 3 of her kids, you know, so, and she just kind of randomly said to me, she's like, can you look at my teeth? I'm like, yeah. So, you know, she's just bothered by the misalignment because she's had braces, right? She's been treated, she likes me, I'm treating her kids. So I said, okay, you know, it's like, you know, she's like, but I don't want to spend $1 million. I'm like, it doesn't have to be $1 million. You know, she's only concerned about her front teeth. I mean, I don't know if you can see the crowding here, there's crowding here, there's overlapping here. So here she is. We've done 22 stages on the upper, we've done 20 stages on the lower. This is all LuxCreo, okay? I have to program 5 additional trays to complete the case. So it's going to be 27 trays, roughly. The picture on the left shows you how she started. The middle picture shows you how we finished after stage 20. The right image shows you my design image out of ULab, right? And I would say, as a rule, this is a good finish, okay? So, again, you know, here's the question. Does this inspire confidence? Does this make you believe? I think the answer is check, right? Here's the upper. She had 2 more trays on the upper, and she's not quite perfect, but I will tell you that this image and this image are alarmingly close. So I will tell you what happens at 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm treatment planning. Sometimes I get tired. Sometimes I don't do the best treatment plan. Because I gotta tell you, I look at that and I'm like, I could have done a better job there, right? And the teeth match what I did. Which is why I had to build 5 more trays. But at least I'm honest about it. He was in this week, okay? So, he walks into my office 5 years ago and says, you know, my dentist says I should straighten my teeth out. And I said, you should.
He's like, do you really think I need to? I'm like, you're asking an orthodontist if you have crooked teeth if you should straighten them. The answer is yes, you should. He's like, okay. So that was Eric. So 13 months later, he's magically straight. And I say to Eric, I'm like, you know, you should do a fixed retainer on your teeth because they were really severely crowded. So he's like, well, he goes, I'll do it on the lower, I won't do it on the upper. I'll just wear a retainer on the upper, I'll be good. I'm like, fine. So this is his retention when we finish the case. Here's his retention failure. He knew I was going there, right? So this is popping out a little bit right here. You can see it right there, right? It's going exactly back to where it used to live. That's not surprising. It's just what happens, right? Teeth have memory. Again, this is where I finished the ortho. This is where he walked back in the door this year, right? And the best patients are the ones that know that they used to look better because they want to go back. And now they've learned their lesson, right? Which is why it's so easy to sell a night guard in my office. So he sees this. I said, okay, Eric. So I go into ULab and I plan my moves, right? I create my shell in Lux Design. So again, remember there's 3 pieces of software. I'm starting to bring you back to the circle here. Design software, shell software, and then a piece of software to run your printer called LuxCreo. So this is where he finished, this is where he failed, and this is where we got him back. You can tell right there that it closed back up. And it matches how we finished. Agreed? Interesting, right? I got him back. So I said to him, I'm like, you're going to think I'm crazy. But now I'm going to make you a thicker daytime retainer for the next 3 months that I would like you to wear. So instead of a 0.7 thickness, I'm going to do a 0.8 thickness. Just a passive tray. Just a little firmer for him to wear during the day because I know he's going to cheat. And I want him to feel it when he cheats. Okay? Hey, don't get mad, get even. And then we printed his night guard. He was here Wednesday. He was one of the 5 night guards we did Wednesday. So he's picking his night guard up today, literally for the office. Last case, best case of the week is this one. He's making me show you this.
LuxCreo saves the wedding day.
LuxCreo saves the wedding day, maybe. Let's see if we can get this to play. Yeah, I know, but it's moving backwards. Kill me. So Megan, what's happening in 2 days?
I'm getting married.
Okay, so why are you here today?
I'm here because a week ago I went to the dentist for a cavity.
Yep.
And they took off half of my permanent retainer, glued it back on. Don't know how they glued it back on, but I woke up the next morning, 24 hours later, with a gap in my front teeth.
You got a picture of that? Oops.
I do have a picture of that.
It's on your phone? Let's see.
How
about that? Oh, yeah.
And
Of course, this is only, what, a few days before the wedding. By the way, this is yesterday.
yeah,
This is my office yesterday. Oh, I'm sorry, did we treat you orthodontically a couple of years ago? So we've had a bonded retainer for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything was good.
Everything was good.
Right?
And then
Oh yeah, look at that. Nice gap.
a gap.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
I just forgot the CE.
Yeah, or something. We don't know. Okay, so.
That's her fiancé
so,
saying the dentist forgot to take
so
his CE.
he took the wire off completely.
He took it off this side. It was
Right.
like hanging on this side.
Right, so now the wire's gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Now the wire's gone.
And we cleaned off all the extra glue today, and we did some immediate emergency orthodontic work on you because we 2 days before the big day, right? And if you smile, big smile.
The liner is on.
Thank you, LuxCreo.
Gap is closed.
Okay, so we just made extra thick liners on the fly to close that gap immediately, right? And how's it feel?
It feels good. It feels snug, but
It's not, but yeah. So realistically, I was never able to do this before. Does it hurt? No. Okay. So this is kind of a cool thing. Weird application. I've never had this happen before, so I always love to get first moments. Yes, yeah, we're happy to be able to help. So, all right, thank you very much.
I told her she owes me a wedding picture tomorrow, so it's kind of funny, right? So this was literally yesterday, right? Gap immediately closed. I did build a second tray that has some overcorrection in it, just as a precaution, right? And you know, I just can't lie about this. This is why I was late to the meeting yesterday, because I was delivering that aligner, recording the video, and I showed it to the guys yesterday as well, and the ladies yesterday. So, you know, here's what I'm going to close with. I want to come back to night guards. Night guards are the ultimate retainer. Okay, so I think I'm going to task Raj with a request. I would like for you guys to source or develop a device where we can laser print an expiration date on an aligner. That is my request. Get to it. Because I want people to understand when these things have to be replaced. Okay? I think that's really an important thing because people think they last forever. A night guard, I think, should last routinely a couple of years, right? And if I have all the data and teeth haven't changed, to reprint a night guard, I give them a deal. I do it for $150. You're going to say I'm ignorant. I sell my night guards for $7.85, and I sell them all day long because a lot of people are using a health savings account to buy them. So when you print off Sprint Ray or another brand, you're going to have a lot of supports on your night guard. When you do the LuxCreo way, there's two simple struts that basically support and they snap off. So finishing these things is really quite simple. Now, they are printing, you can print them two ways. You can print them polished or you can print them unpolished. To me, printing them polished just makes it finishing that much faster. But you know, tearing the struts off is like a really quick, simple thing. Right? So you're still finishing the first one on the left, whereas we're now doing 4 or 5 of these on the right. But here's the process. If I'm being honest, I'm going to tell you this number is really lower, but I want you to appreciate kind of like the time involved here, right? If you say it takes 15 minutes to do a digital scan, which probably it doesn't. It takes my staff about 3. And then you upload it to the cloud, and then I use 3Shape Automate. I like that platform because it's simple and easy and it's AI based and it's back in 10 minutes. Design's about $8.50 for me. And then you just approve it, download it, put it on the printer, which takes a few minutes. And then you're going to use DNG resin, which is direct night guard resin. That's what DNG stands for. And then let's say we're going to say it's going to cost us $10 to utilize our own workflow. And then there's 15 minutes of polishing, which you see we just did six night guards in 15 minutes, probably 5 minutes to be honest. So I'm saying it's $45 to make that night guard. If you sold it for $550, you'd have a $505 profit on that night guard. I'm being honest to tell you, I sell mine at $7.85. Okay, but I also stand behind my night guards and I replace them for free if they break. Here's the simple math. That one bottle of D&G is about $400. 80 night guards out of that bottle will give you $40,400 of income. These are not lies. These are real numbers. If you sell at $550, you're making $36,000 of profit on a single bottle of resin. The whole reason why you should buy this system is just to make night guards. I think liners are bonus. Okay? These are one and dones. There is no second visits. There is no repeats. There is no see how we do. You just get paid and you're done. You're literally earning over $1,000 an hour, right? For doing nothing. And the best part, you can offload the entire thing to your staff. There's nothing for you to do here because there is no design. It's all AI based. Okay? Yes?
So, Dr. Neal, you've
Yes,
been
Kevin?
printing night guards with different materials. How
Yes.
would you compare the DNG compared to the other printed night guard materials you've used in the past?
Okay, so the question is how does DNG, which is a hard material, compare to the flexible resin we've been using in the past? And the difference is, so I've got my settings dialed in on the cloud. So it's a good fit. It doesn't hurt to take it on and off at all. So if I think someone is a square jaw, they got muscles like a bull mastiff, you know what I'm talking about? Like a big, thick, muscular masseter, they're getting DNG whether they like it or not. If someone really complains like they're really prissy and they don't like anything really too hard, they want it kind of thin, I might still use a flexible resin, which they have a profile on the printer for, which we can get from, we can do key splins on it, right? Key soft, whatever. So we offer people both, and we even keep samples of both in the office. So when someone wants to understand the difference, what we do is we get the rubber alginate bowls. We put hot water in a bowl. We drop the key soft in the bowl. We hand it to them, like wiggle it, and they can see that it bends. Then we hand them. Then we take the DNG and we drop it in the hot water. We're like, go ahead and bend it. And like, well, it doesn't bend. I'm like, exactly, right? And we let them understand the difference. We let people choose. I don't have a preference, but I've found that I haven't had any problems except for this week with DNG. Jane Schneider was my problem this week. Okay, I'm calling her out. So she calls my staff and she says, for the second time, my night guard broke. Okay, have you ever seen a night guard break twice in under 2 months? Never, right? So Jane comes in, I'm like, okay, Jane, test out. Tell me the truth. Because I'm better than Santa Claus. I know what's true and what's not. She's like, okay, I'm going to tell you the story, but don't be mad at me. So she has this little dog with her. I'm like, who's your pup? She's got this little black dog. She's like, well, this is my new rescue. She's like, well, my older dog could never get up on a table before. This dog's a bit of a troublemaker. That dog got up on the kitchen table and took her night guard and ate it. And chewed it up. So all Jane cared about was she wasn't paying $7.85. I said, Jane, I said a reprint fee is $150. She's like, oh, thank God. And that was it. So she already got the new night guard. We printed it while she was in the office. We put it back on the printer immediately because we just have a file, right? She just kind of hung out in the waiting room and waited. It took just over an hour. And she left with it and paid her $150 spanking. So what I would tell you is it's really interesting that people, when they get stuff that fits well, they think like you're it, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. It's like, I'm just going back to him because he knows what he's doing. She knows what she's doing. And that's it. It's all about this kind of blind confidence. So we've had very good success with the printer. We're learning to utilize it more. It's an asset to your practice. It should grow your brand, all that good stuff. I'm here all day and all day tomorrow, so I'm happy to answer questions. So thank you very much. Yeah, I'm here. I'll answer questions. So he's asking about staining. So let's just get. Okay, so
I got the staining log in the second day.
I'm wearing my liners, by the way. Now. I got it back. Got them yesterday.
So if I could give two pieces of advice about staining. Okay, so the first is try retainer foam. Everbright retainer foam. It's on the web. You can buy it by the case. I will go so far as to say if you're doing your in-house brands and you guys